The US Open is set to begin, and it promises to be a huge occasion. Many things will change over the course of the next 2 weeks, and that includes the possibility of a new world number one in men's tennis. The race for the number one spot is heating up, and there are at least 5 players who could be the world's number one by the end of the US Open. Starting with the race for number one. 5 players are in the running to finish the US Open ranked as number one player in the Pepperstone ATP rankings. These names include the 5-time US champion Rafael Nadal, the current number one Daniil Medvedev, the Roland Garros runner-up this year Casper Ruud, the world number 5 Stefanos Tsitsipas, and the teenage Spanish sensation Carlos Alcaraz. With the draw having been made on Thursday, the scenarios for each player to the number one rankings have become clearer. The German Alexander Zverev remains among the top 6, currently ranked at number 2, but he's injured and will miss the rest of the season, so he's not in the running. First up, the situation for Daniil Medvedev. The current world number 1, Daniil Medvedev, missed Wimbledon this year due to the ban on Russian and Belarusian players by the UK government. He's back in action and will be defending his US Open crown at Flushing Meadows, having beaten Novak Djokovic in straight sets last year. As you know, that means the chances of Medvedev ending the US Open as the world number 1 are dramatically low, and he'll need to not only win the Grand Slam, but also hope that Nadal is eliminated in the earlier rounds. Of course, though, if you ask Daniil, he'd bite your hand off for a second US Open title. In fact, he'll need to hope the 22-time Grand Slam champion is knocked out in the first round, otherwise his chances of finishing as the number 1 in Flushing Meadows will remain under a lot of doubt. It's unlucky for Medvedev because he's defending 2,000 points, but that's why they always say that getting to the top is much easier than staying there. Next, the Rafael Nadal situation. The Spanish world number 1 is best placed for a number 1 position by the end of the US Open. Due to his foot injury, Nadal missed the end of the 2021 season, including his participation in the US Open. While that was tough news to take for his fans, the 2022 season has been a blessing in disguise for the left-hander. He's won 2 of the 3 Grand Slams, winning the Australian Open and Roland Garros. With 0 points to defend in Flushing Meadows, Nadal has a healthy lead over the Russian number 1, and regardless of whatever happens, he won't finish the tournament lower than number 3, which is seriously impressive. The semifinalists get 720 points, and that would be enough to get Nadal the number 1 crown if none of the other 4 in contention win the Grand Slam title and he's knocked out in the semis. As we mentioned before, the 36-year-old is the best placed for the number 1 position that he hasn't held since 2020. Moving on, what about Stefanos Tsitsipas? For Tsitsipas, things are somewhat easier because he's in the top half of the draw along with Daniil Medvedev and Carlos Ruud. It's better to play those players rather than face Nadal in a Grand Slam, considering he's racked up 22 of them. Tsitsipas's best shot at finishing the world number 1 would mean that he'd require his best finish at Flushing Meadows. The Greek's not been able to move past the 3rd round of the US Open in 4 of his previous appearances and lost to one of the other contenders for the number 1 spot, the Spanish wonder kid Carlos Alcaraz, last year. He'll be hoping to put things right this time around, and he's got a lot of points to win if he can make it to the semifinals even. That wouldn't guarantee the number 1 spot because Medvedev, Nadal, Alcaraz, and Ruud are all in the running, but a Final 4 finish for the Greek could take him to the top 3. To become the world number 1, Tsitsipas would need to at least make it to the US Open final. Winning it guarantees the crown, but he can give himself the best opportunity if he makes it to the final, at least. Then, the equation for Carlos Alcaraz. Few people have enjoyed a better breakthrough season than Carlos Alcaraz, who looks set to be the next big thing in the sport. He's won a number of titles this year, and with some deep finishes, Alcaraz is set to challenge for the number 1 spot. The fact is, he shouldn't even be in these conversations considering he's only 19, but the Iberian is a fantastic player, and nothing about him should be taken for granted. Of course, much like Tsitsipas and Medvedev, Alcaraz would need to take it to the US Open final to give himself any chance of becoming the world number 1. It's unlikely, but given how he surprised us on every occasion, we wouldn't put it past him to do something crazy once again. Things could get better for the Spaniard if he can defeat Nadal in the last 4, as they are on the same side of the draw. If Alcaraz can defeat Nadal in the semifinals and does not go on to win the Grand Slam, he could still leave New York as the Spanish number 1, and that's a pretty big achievement if we're being honest. He'd still have the chance to make it to the number 1 spot before the end of the year. Lastly, the possibilities for Casper Ruud. This year's Roland Roland Garros finalist Casper Ruud lost to Rafael Nadal. He'll be hoping to put things right after an embarrassing Wimbledon campaign and a poor post-Wimbledon run. Ruud's strengths aren't exactly on hard courts, but the courts in the US Open tend to favor clay-friendly players. For Ruud, world number 1 might be the unlikeliest scenario, but he could still reach his best ranking if he can defeat Tsitsipas in the quarterfinal, considering they're on the same side of the draw. The winner of that match would still have a chance to become the world number 1, but also the chance to claim world number 2 if other results go his way. It would still be a massive achievement for Ruud, but all said and done, Ruud leaving New York as the world's number 1 would be a huge surprise. Probably bigger because it would mean he's won a Grand Slam, and we just don't think he's got the facilities to do that. Now, in other news, let's talk about Djokovic's withdrawal to impact his ranking. The 21-time Grand Slam champion, Novak Djokovic, confirmed his decision to withdraw from the US Open 2022. He wouldn't have been able to feature anyway due to his unvaccinated status for COVID-19. That has been a common feature for Djokovic, and he's only made it to 6 tournaments this year since his deportation from Australia before the Australian Open. This lack of appearances has resulted in Djokovic dropping in rankings, and he's currently ranked number 6 in the world. Casper Ruud should comfortably be able to go past the Serb, and it wouldn't be a surprise if Felix Auger-Aliassime overtakes him too in the coming few months. If the players below him have dismal campaigns, Noel will keep his 6th position, but a drop in the rankings wouldn't be a surprise and could be a place at number 9 with 3,570 points, given he'll be losing a few after his run to the US Open final last year. Now on to Gabriel Diallo storms up the ATP rankings. Montrealer Gabriel Diallo was handed a wildcard entry into the $50,000 ATP National Bank Granby Challenger, and he's made the most of that opportunity. The 20-year-old senior at the University of Kentucky has made it to the semifinals after defeating Aziz Dugas of Tunisia, and that comes after he edged the 7th seed, Cedric Marcel Stiba, in a hard-fought third-set tiebreak. Before playing his first-round qualifying match at the National Bank Open earlier this month, Diallo was ranked number 665 in the ATP rankings. Since then, though, he's moved on to number 443 and cracked the top 400 if he can defeat Hiroki Moriya of Japan. It won't be easy, though, as Moriya defeated the 5th seed Hugo Humbert in 3. Wrapping things up with Van de Zandschulp falls to Mannarino, won't make the top 20. Botic van de Zandschulp entered the Winston-Salem Open at a career high, ranking number 23. After an impressive campaign, he was set to break into the top 20, but he ended up losing to Adrian Mannarino in straight sets and also conceded a bagel in the first set. He improved to number 22, so it's still progress, and he'll be hoping for a good run at the US Open to improve his ranking further. The Dutch tennis player plays against Tomáš Mošák of Czechia in the opener. That's a wrap for this video. Do you think we'll have a new world number 1 by the end of the US Open? And who will it be? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.